Hello, and welcome to the Book Marketing Simplified podcast. I am Jen Hanson-dePaula.
And I am Marcus-dePaula. And Jen, we all know that social media is your wheelhouse. Like that's where you spend all of your time. That is not my wheelhouse. And I know there's a lot of other people out there like me that kind of sometimes dread having to get on social media to do what we know we need to do to get our marketing machine rolling. But you wanted to talk with us today about what we can do for those of us who just don't love every minute that we spend on social media. How can you help us make it so that our social media marketing tasks don't become such a grind for those of us who don't enjoy social media so much?
Well, I think it starts with a mindset adjustment, knowing that social media is not considered marketing. We know, I've said this time and time again, that marketing is simply connecting with people that are interested in the same things as you are. It's not something that is used to sell initially. So social media is a connection tool. It's how we connect with people all over the world. And when you're not there to sell, you're there to connect. That's that first mindset adjustment that you have to make. I know that there are a lot of people who just dread and hate social media. And I think they have their account set up so they don't enjoy the process as much, meaning this. Many times when we go to our feed, the life is sucked out of us or we're completely drained because our own personal feed is just full of people or magazines or websites or whatever that don't feed our soul. And the reason we might follow those pages is because someone might have followed you first and you felt like you had to reciprocate that in order to grow your audience. One of the biggest things that an author can do is follow people or follow companies or organizations that you love and believe in and that you want to be connected with. So starting with your own feed first and thinking about, okay, who do I want to learn from? Who do I want to be connected with? What do I want to fill my feed with?
Yeah, before I follow, especially if it's a company, I'll look and see what kind of stuff they're posting. If it's purely promotional, I won't follow.
Why would you?
Yeah, why would I follow them?
And so it starts with that initially because you want to make your feed as enjoyable for your readers.
Yes.
And you want to also have your feed that you consume.
You should do it for yourself.
Exactly. So it's not just about creating great content for your readers, but you also have to look at consuming good content in your feed as well.
All right, so I need to make sure that I am following accounts that I know that I will enjoy interacting with. What else can I do to make sure that using social media is not a chore?
Well, again, I come back to it almost every episode. It's knowing who your ideal reader is. Because when we know who we want to connect with, and because our ideal reader often reflects who we are and the people that we want to connect with, knowing exactly who you're creating content for will make it enjoyable because you know that you're providing a good experience for your readers as well.
And you're doing it authentically, coming from who you are as a person, not just coming from the perspective of, this is what I need to talk about today because I need to sell more books.
Yes. And it's coming from the fact of you're not constantly selling. And I think that so many authors tell me I feel gross when I'm on social media because I feel like I constantly have to talk about myself or I constantly have to talk about my book. If you're doing that, I don't mean it to sound harsh, but you're doing it wrong. You need to be thinking about your ideal reader and putting them first in the content that you create. Again, when you're not trying to talk to everyone and you're just talking to one particular person, that takes that pressure off and it makes it more enjoyable because you don't have that pressure on yourself to try to appease to everyone.
Something that's brought up all the time when it comes to social media is that it makes it easy for us to disconnect using social media because of that computer screen that's between us and the reader. And so I know that when I try to make meaningful conversations and connection on social media, I try to treat it like an in-person conversation.
Absolutely. When you fully go through identifying who this person is, they have a face, they have a name, they have a story, they have a mother that loves them. They have all of these traits that make them alive. And so when you have that in mind, it makes you remember that, okay, there is another human being on the other side of this computer screen, and that makes it enjoyable. You're not talking to a computer.
Okay, so I have a question for you. What happens if you realize your ideal reader is not someone that you want to be talking to, that you enjoy talking to?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would question if that person actually was your ideal reader.
Yeah.
Because when you identify someone that you want to connect with, you want to connect with them.
Right.
And so if you find yourself almost being repelled by this person, I would sit down and reevaluate who your ideal reader is.
Absolutely. What can we do to not just make it more enjoyable, but also to make it easier for us?
So there are many, many different social media management tools, which are scheduling tools that you can tap into that will help you save time. You basically come up with your posts ahead of time, you schedule them in the scheduling tool, and they automatically post them for you at a designated time. We use a tool called Buffer because it is very straightforward. It's very easy to use. They have free options for you if that's a concern.
So you can just try it out.
You can just try it out. And it takes that pressure off of you of trying to come up with something and going, oh, dang, I didn't post something today. You can think ahead of time and be intentional with your posts so you aren't bogged down daily having to come up with something to post to keep your quota up on social media.
So walk us through how you use these tools. Once a week, you basically schedule out the whole week's worth of posts. Is that what you do?
Yes. It takes maybe half an hour to 45 minutes to schedule posts. And that means coming up with an image, coming up with a caption, knowing where I want to lead readers for each post. If you set aside some time, just maybe an hour a week, where you can sit down and make your images, create your captions, and research your hashtags and schedule them into a tool like Buffer, you're set for the week.
You don't have to go back to it every single day.
No, you can just hop on to answer comments and to engage with your readers and to find new readers. The fun part, exactly. And you don't have to be bogged down with having to come up with something every single day on that day. You can think ahead of time and schedule it.
And it helps to get into a routine too, so that you know this period of time every week is the amount of time I'm giving myself just to work on social media, not more, not less.
Yes, and guard that time, because once you get into the habit of doing it, it gets so much easier. And once you kind of get into that routine, you'll find that it might take you less time than an hour a week. It's all about consistency.
All right, so just to recap, we need to remember that social media is not just for marketing. It's actually us connecting with other human beings. Once again, we're bringing up the ideal reader profile, that you need to know exactly who you are trying to connect with and being intentional about communicating with them so that you're connecting with the people that you know that you actually want to connect with. And then, of course, you can save time and make the process easier by using scheduling tools like Buffer, which is what we use.
Exactly.
So what is the make it happen moment for this topic?
I want you to go unfollow accounts that you feel just drain your experience, that don't speak to who you want to become or who you want to connect with. I'm going to give you permission to unfollow them.
But what if they unfollow me back?
That's okay. They were not a true fan to begin with.
Right.
If they are going to unfollow you just because you unfollowed them, they weren't a great connection to begin with anyway. They're going to stick with you even if you unfollow them.
All right, so there it is. Jen has given you permission to go in and start cleaning house in your social media accounts. Get to it.
Yes. And remember to enjoy social media. It is enjoyable if you have the right mindset and if you fill your feed with things that you enjoy.
And we hope you enjoy this podcast. So thank you for listening.
Until next time.